Hey friends, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie and today I'm super excited to be back here with my winter favorites. So I cannot believe that we are already in winter. I mean, I guess technically winter starts at the end of December, but I love sharing my seasonal favorites early on in the season just to give you guys an idea of what I'm planning to wear for the upcoming season. And even though there are a ton of sparkly polishes, which I especially love wearing during the holidays, this wheel is definitely a little bit more geared to just the general winter season, because if I did focus on holiday specific shades, I would have a whole other wheel for that. So without further ado, let me just show you my favorites. The first polish I have is Zoya Adel, and I had shared this in my winter favorites last year. This is just a beautifully squishy snow white polish that I just love for the winter season. Usually when I think of white nails, I think of the stark white nails that you see in the summertime, but having this squishy, crelly kind of formula, I think softens it up so it makes it super wearable and appropriate for winter. So yeah, I just can't recommend this one enough. I think it is so beautiful, whether on its own or paired with some other colors, or especially with some glitters, which I'll be sharing soon. While it is a little bit milky, I do find that it leans on the more opaque side of acrylic, so I usually find it builds up nicely on me on 2 coats, but for the swatch wheel, I ended up doing 3. Next, I have a bit of an oldie from my collection. This is OPI's Oh My Majesty, and I believe it was from maybe 2015 or so, but this is a really creamy, almost vanilla-leaning off-white crelly base with this really pretty pinkish red kind of shimmer. Honestly, I almost forgot that I had this shade until I saw Caitlin Swatches share the recent Kathleen & Co. winter collection. There's a polish called Toasted Marshmallows that is very similar to this one, so I decided to be responsible and shop my own stash. But yeah, I really love this color. I forgot how much I enjoyed it. The only thing I don't love is the formula. It doesn't really self-level the best, so even on my nails I find that I would need 3 coats to really even everything out. And it's also looking a lot more yellow than it actually is, but it's still a really pretty shade. Next, I have Holo Taco's Fake Date, which is one of their frosted metal finishes, which is what they call a foil metallic. You may have seen this type of finish from other brands before, but this one is described as a frosty lilac polish, and to me, lilac is a lot more purple leaning, and that's how I always saw photos of this shade, but I had a lot of people assure me that this shade was actually a lot more pink leaning in real life, especially compared to the photos. So I ended up pulling the trigger, and I do not regret it one bit. I loved wearing this last year, especially in the winter season. It builds up so beautifully on its own to be this really reflective, foily type of manicure, but I especially love wearing shades like this as a subtle gradient tip. It is just so soft and dainty, and oh my god, I just really love this shade. Next, I have another oldie from my collection. This is Noodles nail polish, Warm and Cozy. So if you watched my favorite Crellies video, you know that I am such a sucker for the Crelly polishes from Noodles nail polish. I just really love Natalie's mixes. The glitter combinations are so cute, and they generally have really nice formulas as well. But yeah, this one is an oldie, probably from 2015, around that time. I just remember falling in love with the initial swatch photo of this one because it just was so up my alley. It is this really pretty, dainty baby pink base color with these hot pink, lavender, and gold micro glitters, as well as this dainty hollow sparkle. It really is warm and cozy. The next polish I have is KBShimmer's There's a Nap for That, which I recently shared in my favorite reflective polishes video. This is a bright magenta base color with this really gorgeous fiery copper shimmer that kind of shifts to gold in extreme angles. And obviously this is also highly packed with reflective glitters. It is just such a beautiful shade of pink, especially for the winter season where it's really dark, dark, almost like a berry leaning kind of color, but obviously so sparkly. And honestly, I think the color is such a perfect match for that hot pink glitter in Warm and Cozy, so I cannot wait to do a little skittle with these. Now getting into some purples, the first one that I have is the Girly Bits and Caitlin Swatches collab shade Coming Up Lavender, which is described as a soft lavender with a violet blue to pink color shifting shimmer. And I feel like I don't even have to explain this shade. It is just absolutely perfect for the winter. It is just such a cool and icy kind of shade that is so ethereal, so dreamy. Definitely one of those shades that looks great no matter how many coats you do. Like, it's gonna be so enchanting on just one coat for that sheer wash of color, but it's gonna build up so beautifully in 2 or 3 coats to get more of that lavender base coming through. I just cannot wait to wear this one. I am just such a fan of any light purple with a blue shimmer. I need them. The next lavender that I have is from Damn Nail Polish, and it's called Data Is My Love Language. It's described as a blue-leaning lavender linear hollow with this gorgeous golden shimmer that shifts to green in extreme angles, which you know is like my favorite combination. It is my weakness. It is just so pretty. Even if the shimmer was just gold and didn't shift to green, I still really love the combination of the gold against the purple base. I just find it so pretty. It kind of reminds me of like the sunset in the winter. Just such a gorgeous color combination. Obviously also love that it's this linear hollow formula because it's really sparkly. I just can't get enough of this polish. It is just so pretty, especially when you see it in indirect lighting and you see that green pop out against the purple. It is just such a beautiful contrast. And the next lavender that I have is Cupcake Polish's Believe, and this is another oldie for my collection, but thankfully this one is still around. This is from Cupcake Polish's Micro Glitter formula, and it is just such a beautiful finish. I especially love glitters for this time of year, more specifically around like the holiday season. I feel like glitters and holidays just go so hand in hand, but I also really love to wear them just in the winter in general, just to have that extra sparkle, especially when the weather is so overcast and dreary. And I think purple is just such a beautiful color to go to instead of the typical blues or icy metallic kind of shades. This one still has a little bit of a cool leaning color to it, but it is just so pretty on its own, either built up in 2 or 3 coats, or I like to especially wear these as glitter gradients. I have a couple of other cupcake polishes in the same Mega Glitters finish, and I just cannot recommend them enough. They are so beautiful. Next, I have a slightly darker lavender shade. This is Mooncat's Take Me to Your Leader, which I had shared as one of my best of Mooncat polishes. This one is a beautiful dusty lavender crelly base that has this absolutely gorgeous coppery shimmer that shifts from this like reddish orange to yellow and gold in extreme angles. And this is basically like the winter version of Flight of the Monarchs. So if you love that polish, I highly recommend checking out this one. This is another one that I immediately think of like a winter sunset. It is just absolutely breathtaking. And the last purple that I have is not a lavender. It is quite possibly one of the deeper purples in my collection. This is England's Van Helsing, which came out, I believe, last year, either in the fall or winter. And this is an absolutely breathtaking, plummy purple linear holographic that is fully opaque in 1 coat. I just have no words. It is literal perfection. The next shade I have is another repeat from last year. This is Powder Perfect's Nottingham, and this is just my darkest, most vampy, moody, brooding blue that I just have not found a good enough replacement for. So we have to include it again. Unfortunately, Powder Perfect isn't around anymore, and this is my first and only Powder Perfect shade. So it's really special to me because it just is such a beautiful shade of midnight blue blue. Like, it is just so dark. You guys know I'm not usually a fan of polishes that are so dark they basically look black, but this one has this really pretty shimmer in there that I think just brightens it up. This shade really reminds me of like a cold winter sky on a clear night. It is so beautiful. Speaking of midnight, the next shade that I have is Holo's Midnight Owl, and this one just launched in the After Party collection. It is this absolutely gorgeous midnight indigo leaning base color with this really pretty micro holographic glitter mix, and there's also these little iridescent shimmers in there as well. So it is just super dark but still very sparkly. Like, the last two shades are usually like what I would go for when I'm feeling super dark and moody and depressing, especially in the middle of winter. But this one is like that, but with a little fun. And the last moody blue that I have is Ave Pluto, which came out in a winter collection a couple of years ago, and it is this super dark, inky midnight blue. This one is definitely one of those that is so dark it looks almost black, especially in like low lighting. But when you see the blue in it, it is just so alluring. I just love it so much. Like, it really has that inky kind of quality to it. I wore this on its own last year and it was just such a bold statement kind of color, at least for me, but it's also a great shade for nail art. The next shade I have is another repeat. This is Loud Lacquer's Office in the Trees, and this is just my favorite green cream for the winter. It is just a super dark and rich emerald green cream with a fantastic formula. So I just love wearing this either on its own or again paired with some other shades, or especially in some nail art. This is just the exact green that I love painting like little trees with. It is just so perfect. This next shade actually launched early in the spring, so I have been waiting a hot minute to wear this one. This is Mooncat's Weeping Willow from the Lost in a Folktale collection, and this is a beautiful emerald green magnetic that also has a hint of like reflective glitters in there, but I really just love wearing this as a green magnetic. It's a little bit lighter and brighter than the last shade, especially with that brighter green magnetic shimmer going throughout. This shade is probably the most holiday leaning on my swatch wheel, but I think it still works generally for winter. This next shade might be familiar if you watched my favorite browns video last month. This is Noodles Nail Polish Warm Mocha Latte, and it is another oldie from my collection, so unfortunately this one is not around anymore, but it is just one of my favorite dark, cozy brown kind of colors. This one is looking a lot lighter and yellow leaning than it is in real life. Like, it really is a lot darker and more grayed out. I never thought I would consider myself such a big fan of cool toned browns, but this is definitely one of the first ones that made me change my mind about that. It just has such a yummy formula and this beautiful shimmer, just such a cozy shade. Another super oldie for my collection is OPI Ce-less-tial Is More, and this is like a champagne gold metallic base that also has the silver holographic micro glitters in there. I just especially love the color of this one. The sparkle is really pretty too, but I don't really love the formula because I feel like it kind of has a gritty and almost like textured look to it, but I don't think this is supposed to be textured. I just think OPI is not the best when it comes to these type of micro glitter formulas. Granted, mine was also super thick just because I've had it for so many years, so I needed to add a lot of thinner to it, but I'm willing to forgive the formula for the beautiful gold. Next, I have Zoya Megan, and this one is described as a taupe gray cream, which I don't think I would agree with because taupe has a lot more brown in it, and I just do not see it in this shade. If anything, I would call this more like a grayed out lavender maybe, which I really love. Like, I don't have a lot of grays in my collection. I just don't really find them super flattering on me, but this one is so perfect because it has like that kiss of lavender in there. It is just so beautiful, especially for the winter months, even transitioning into spring. And then for my toppers, the first one I have is KBShimmer's Out of Sequins, which is a silver reflective glitter topper. I also just recently shared this in my favorite reflective polishes. It is just such a gorgeous topper. I love how dainty it is, but it packs such a sparkly punch. My favorite combination is to wear this over Zoya Adel, and it is the perfect winter mani. And last but certainly not least, I have another repeat from last year. This is Noodles nail polish for snow. And this is just the most fun and magical white matte glitter topper that has these snowflake glitters and also these iridescent sparkles in there. This is just such a fun topper to layer over whatever polishes to turn it into like an instant snow globe. I love it so much. So here is a look at my completed swatch wheel with top coat and even a smoothing top coat for some of them because they were a little bit gritty with those glitters and micro glitters and whatnot. I am just loving this color palette so much. I feel like I'm feeling a lot of the icy lavender shades, but then I still have a good handful of really dark and moody shades. I surprisingly have a small amount of creams, especially compared to my fall swatch wheel where I had a lot of cream finishes. This season, I'm definitely gravitating a lot more towards these sparkly shades because I think they just generally lift my spirits up because winter is kind of hard for me. So yeah, I really love this year's favorite, and I thought it was super unique until I pulled out my swatch wheel from last year. I knew that I had some favorites overlapping. I think there was 4 of them, but it was just so funny to see the overlap in the other colors. I guess I just have a type. I think the main difference is that last year I had a lot more greens and some lighter blues, and this year I have a lot more purples, especially lavenders. So you'll have to let me know which year was your favorite. So that wraps up my winter favorites. So here's another look at the swatch wheel because I am just so in love with it. I feel like I'm leaning towards a lot of pinks and purples, especially like the icy variety. Especially excited to wear this like top half. I mean, I have a little skittle on my other hand. I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see it. Oh, and one of my nails already chipped. We love that. But I'm wearing Ce-less-tial Is More on my pinky. There's a nap for that. The Noodles nail polish Girly warm and cozy on my middle finger and thumb, and then the Cupcake polish Believe, which is also what I have on my little snowflake design that I shared over on Instagram. I just love these little shades so much. I can't wait to hear what you think of my picks this season. Of course, you have to let me know what are some of your favorite shades to wear in the winter, whether they are older ones that have been in your collection that you just love going back to, or if there's any new shades that you are super excited about. Because of the ones that I have like up here, I was really debating on including the Morgan Taylor Gift It Your Best, like that pearly periwinkle shade. I just think it is so beautiful. So like honorable mention to that, and to Starly's The Cat's Meow, because I have been so in love with that polish ever since I tried it. I feel like it just would work so perfectly with these kind of like lavender periwinkle kind of shades. It's almost a little bit more blue leaning than Take Me to Your Leader from Mooncat, but I had to include this one because I am just loving that purple and orange combination this year. Overall, I love my wheel and I hope that you do too. I'm also excited to use a lot of these in my upcoming nail art video. Hopefully that'll be up this weekend. But yeah, make sure to leave me any and all thoughts that you have down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!